Hey everybody, it's Michael from Replica Airguns with another tabletop review. Today we're looking at the Umarex Glock 19 Gen 5 MOS CO2 Blowback BB pistol. And in this video we're going to look at specs, we're going to talk about details, we're going to get up close to it and look at it pretty close, do a walk around, all that stuff, do pros, do cons, do features, but we're not going to shoot it. That'll be later on when I do the field test shooting video. So check that one out when I get around to it, hopefully in the next week or two. Now this product is available in our Canada Replica Airgun store over at replicaairguns.ca for Canada and replicaairguns.us for the US. I'll do my best to put links for both of those stores in the description for sure for Canada. Sometimes if you just change the .ca portion of the link to .us, you'll get the US version. Now this is a licensed replica of a Glock 17 MOS 5th Gen 9mm pistol, and that MOS stands for Modular Optical System. So what that means is this has a removable plate on the back, which I'll show you in a bit, so you can add a red dot on the rear of the slide. Now this product is made in Taiwan and distributed by Umarex. More than likely Umarex doesn't make it because they're more of a supplier. Probably a company like KWC makes it. I'm not 100% sure who makes it, but it's more than likely KWC. It does come in a nice box right here. You can see you have some basic specs. 370, is it set? Yeah, 370 FPS. Blowback, 12 gram CO2, steel BBs. And 18 round, a drop-free magazine, and then you have the MOS there on the back. Not too much. Nice box. I'm glad it comes in a box. I find boxes just make the product look a little bit more pristine or more quality. I'm not a big fan of clamshells, and I'm sure you've heard that before from me. In the box, you're going to get the manual, okay? So your basic manual with some more information there. You can check that out. Basically, a lot of the same stuff I already told you. And you get some information here, like how to load the port BBs, some of the parts on the gun, right? There's the safety, which I'll show you. Here's how to put some CO2 in it, right? How to load those BBs, and there's the plates, or if you need information about the plates, if you want to put a red dot on there, there you go. Okay, so there's a bunch of other stuff in there, I'm sure. You do get this Allen key, and so on one side is the Allen key, on the other side is this little piece here, and I don't know. I even looked in the manual. I don't know what that's for. I don't believe there's any hop-up. This gun isn't really easily field stripped, so I don't believe there's any kind of weird hop-up adjustment, or there's no sight adjustment, so I'm not really sure what that's for, that little weird thing. It's almost like you'd use it for a sight, but there's no adjustable sights that I can see. This guy here would be for the MOS system, for taking that plate off. All right, again, this is a 4.5mm steel BB gun. It does use 12 gram CO2 cartridges, just one of them. It is a partial blowback air gun, so the slide only goes partially back, okay? It does have ambidextrous slide catch release, but it only goes a little bit. So the blowback action, actually that slide catch release looks like it's ambidextrous, but it's not. Okay, so yeah, interesting. It looks like it is, but it's not. So yeah, it only goes back part way. That's good enough, I guess. It's going to give you some blowback action, but it's not going to be as heavy as a full blowback action gun, like the Glock 19, which I'll compare it to. This gun does weigh in at 1.5 pounds or 683 grams. The total length is 7.95 inches or 20.2 centimeters. It does have a smoothbore 4-inch, 10 centimeter metal barrel. Again, that magazine holds 18 rounds in the full dropout metal magazine, which again, I'll show you. It's a little different than the other gun. Very efficient the way that the trigger loads BBs into the breech, and I'll show you that in a second. It does have what I would consider to be a double action trigger. Now, the internal hammer or striker, whatever you want to call it, is cocked back by the slide when the blowback action happens, which does reduce the trigger weight. But the way the magazine works, the way BBs are loaded, that trigger, when you pull it, pushes a BB into the breech, which does cause a little bit of friction, and it does make the trigger action longer. So I'm going to consider it more to be a double action trigger than a single action trigger. The claimed FPS is 370. It does have a metal slide and a polymer frame, which is typical of a Glock or a newer designed semi-automatic pistol. And you're going to find fixed sights front and back with the typical Glock white dot in the front. Take a look at that. And this sort of rectangular white on the back. I like it. It looks good. It's easy to sight in. I think that's brilliant. Maybe that's why people buy Glocks, just because of that. And again, it is Glock licensed through Umarex, thank goodness. I'm going to compare it to the Glock 19, which is the MOS 19. And I saw both of these. They came out at SHOT Show this year in January. I was happy to see them when I talked to Mark at the Umarex booth. He showed me these guns. They weren't ready yet. They weren't fully cooked, but they're now ready. They're in production. They're available. That's why I have them. And so this is a full blowback gun. You can see It's more like a typical airsoft gun. So it's got the full blowback action. It's got the typical magazine where the BBs just kind of hang out there until basically the gas tube pushes them into the breech. When the blowback action happens, it's pretty basic, right? What you normally see in an airsoft pistols, but not the most efficient and not going to be the highest velocity, but most blowback action, most realistic. And this one, when I show you it a little bit later here, has a different type of magazine. Doesn't go back all the way, but you get a lot more shots per CO2 and you get a much higher velocity. All right, let's do a walk around. We'll get into this gun, we'll show it off. We'll pull that magazine out because I did want to explain it a little bit. So you can see the magazine's quite a bit different. It is metal, even though it looks like this could be metal and plastic. It is full metal. So your follower here for loading BBs, right? And it just kind of locks in there. You can lock it in, which is nice. Pop it up when you're done loading it. So when the trigger is pulled, this takes a BB, right? So there's a BB in there. It pushes it forward and into the breech, which seals everything off. But there is some friction when that happens, and the trigger does have to be longer, okay? So there's always a pro and a con with whatever's going on. Nothing's ever awesome all the way around. If you have one awesome component to something, then there's usually one negative. So with this, velocity is much better, like almost 100 FPS faster than the full blowback version, and you're going to get double the amount of shots per CO2. So that's a good thing, depending on how you look at it, okay? So nice magazine. You've got this butt plate that slides forward. That's where your CO2 goes. Super easy to load up. Then you have, again, the blowback action. Now, it isn't field strippable like the 19 because it just isn't, right? You can move these down. I think you can. No, you can't even move them down. So those are molded in to the frame, okay? That's molded in. So you're going to have to take pins out or something to take this gun apart. You probably need to remove this pin, and then you can take it apart. You do have a trigger safety that actually works. You have Picatinny rail here. You have this serial number on the bottom, which is your safety, right? I could push it forward, but when that red piece is invisible, the red circle there, it's in safe mode. So it's a little harder to do than the crossbolt on the 19, but it does work just fine. Okay, and then you've got your slide catch release here, texture grips, magazine release. I don't know if you can swap it over like you can with the 19, probably not. But you do have open ejection port, which you then see your magazine and everything, or the internals and the magazine, you'd see it in there as well if it was in. Yeah, there's your rear sight, right? There's your front sight. There's that plate that comes off for a red dot. And there's some warning instructions right there, pretty discreet. They're not super bright white, and they're small, but I'm sure maybe if you had a magic eraser or something, you could probably rub those off. I'm thinking, but yeah, nice gun. Yeah, okay, I think that's enough. Again, I'd field strip it if it was easy, but it's not. All right, let's go over some pros and cons and then finish up this review. It's a very realistic replica in terms of looks and function. A little less blowback than a real steel version, but you still get blowback action nonetheless. Does have good weight and feel to it, probably pretty close to what a real Glock would weigh. Maybe empty, maybe not with actual bullets in it, but an empty Glock would weigh similar weight to it. And it is, again, fully Glock licensed via Umarex. And I like the easy to see white dot sights front and back, along with the recessed barrel for added realism. I didn't really show you that, so I'll show you that now. So you can see here the barrel is recessed, so it looks like a big, 9mm barrel until you see the little smaller barrel about a ½ an inch inside. You do have an accessory rail under the barrel for adding laser or tack light. And again, it has that MOS modular optical system on the slide near the rear for adding a red dot. Now it does have that safety built into the serial number under the barrel. And that's cool because you don't find safeties that I've seen on real Glocks. So it's kind of there, but you'd never know unless you kind of looked close. I like the full-size dropout metal magazine that holds the 12 gram CO2 and 18 4.5mm steel BBs. And that slide spring is nice and firm. It will have a decent blowback recoil effect. I like that the warning instructions aren't on the side of the gun. They're underneath, they're discreet, they're under that trigger, and they're not super bright white. And even though it has a double action trigger, which isn't typical of a Glock, it's not overly heavy or long. It feels pretty good. It is usable. And again, the blowback action does actually arm or pull back that hammer striker, so the trigger weight isn't excessively heavy. Now, because of the partial blowback action and the magazine design, it has a higher FPS than a typical airsoft gun or BB gun that's full blowback, and you do get a lot more shots per CO2, at least double than a full blowback gun would. And that trigger safety is actually a working trigger safety. It's not just there for looks. All right, some cons. The trigger is more like a double action trigger, which is longer and heavier than a real steel Glock, but not too bad. The sights are non-adjustable, which is common with these low-cost air guns. And the blowback action is not full. It's a partial blowback action, so the recoil is going to be a little bit less than a full blowback air gun. But again, remember, you get higher FPS and more shots per CO2. All right, I want to mention again, this product is available in our Canada and US Replica Airgun stores over at replicaairguns.ca for Canada and replicaairguns.us for the US. I'll be putting a link at least to the Canadian site in the description of this video, possibly the US site as well. If you're interested in other products like air guns, BB guns, airsoft guns, pellet guns, blank guns, and other accessories, then check out replicaairguns.ca if you're in Canada and replicaairguns.us if you're in the US. We also have our blog over at replicaairguns.com, where I'll be posting a written review for this video with additional photos, maybe some additional information or correct information if I got something wrong. So check that out if you like to read stuff as opposed to watch stuff. All right, thanks again for watching. Don't forget to subscribe. Check us out on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Until next time, take care.